Hello and welcome to the home of the Ghost Owl, and we're back with another faction focus, starting the Empire of Man, having now completed the Dwarves as we move through the Forces of Fantasy book of the different armies. So, as we start looking at the Empire of Man, we're going to start looking at the army list for a grand army, and then look at any faction-specific rules in exactly the same way and exactly the same format as we did the Dwarven Mountain Holds. So, first up, Weapons of the Empire. Right? So there are no faction-specific rules like there were for the Dwarven Mountain Holds, but there are some unique weapons for the Empire itself. So the first up is the grenade launching blunderbuss. It has a 24-inch range. It's got strength 4 and AP -2. It's cumbersome, so it cannot do the stand and shoot charge reaction, and ponderous, so it has -2 to hit when moving and shooting. However, if hit, then it does cause D3 +1 hits. I mean, pretty nice, decent range, decent AP and reasonable strength, particularly as extra hits. The issue being is thinking about what character that you would put this on, because it is going to severely limit their movement. So, if you're going to put it on a character on a mount, the mount gives you mobility, but at the same time, -2 to hit when moving and shooting, not brilliant, and losing the ability for the stand and shoot charge reaction. So, quite some negatives with the grenade launching blunderbuss. So, trying to decide what character you would want to put this on. Now, the Hochland long rifle, range 36 inches, AP -1, armor bane 1, cumbersome and ponderous, but it can target a specific model in a unit, such as a champion or character. So, again, it's got the issue of a lack of mobility with cumbersome and ponderous, but that 36-inch range, absolutely amazing. So straight away, I'm thinking something like an engineer who's babysitting a war machine, who would still be able to use this weapon. And, given the fact that it can snipe out champions and characters, does give it some quite interesting utility. It's also something that could be taken on the master engineer who sits inside the steam tank. So again, I think some interesting things with the Hochland long rifle. And say, while it does have the lack of ability like the grenade launching blunderbuss, I do think there are some nice additional benefits that come with the long rifle. Now then, pigeon bombs. Oh dear, what a unique, flavourful thing. Let's see how it pans out there. So it's got a 24-inch range, but then you roll a D6. Now, if you roll a 1, you get the 3-inch blast template over the model that released the bomb. So essentially that's like a misfire. And you're going to do a strength 4, AP -1 hits around that 3-inch blast template. If you roll a 2 or 3, you have no effect, right? So it's a 50-50 whether it's going to do anything at all. Now, if you roll a 4 or 5, a target unit suffers a single strength 5 AP -2 hit. If you roll a 6, you get a 3-inch blast template on the center of the target unit, a strength 4 AP -1. I mean, it's cool, it's fluffy, it's funny, it's a novelty. Man, I don't see myself ever taking these things. To have to roll 4+ just to do anything, and then on top of that, you have to roll a 6 to have any effect over more than one model for this ranged. I think it's more fluffy and narrative than it is something that I would definitely want to be adding in my army list. So, yeah, not the best thing, but fun all the same. Next up is then looking at the Grand Army composition. So characters, 50% maximum of army points. You can take 0 to 1 General of the Empire or Grandmaster per 1,000 points. And you can take 0 to 1 Lector of Sigmar or High Priest of Ulrich per 1,000 points. You can take any number of captains, wizard lords, master mages, chapter masters, Witch Hunters, Priests of Sigmar, Priests of Ulrich, and Empire Engineers. And you can take 0 to 1 War Altar of Sigmar, but it can only be taken as a mount for the Lector of Sigmar. The High Priest of Ulrich obviously can't take it because it's the War Altar of Sigmar. And then a single captain of the Empire may be upgraded to be a battle standard bearer for 25 points, and he can purchase a magic standard with no points limit. Okay, core, 25% minimum, so you must include 25% of your army points as core. You can take 0 to 1 veteran state troops per 1,000 points, and you can take any number of state troops, state missile troops, free company militia, Empire archers, and Empire knights. Then we look at special, so 50% maximum of army points, 0 to 3 war machines per 1,000 points, and that's great cannons and mortars. You can take 0 to 1 inner circle knights per 1,000 points, and then you can take any number of Empire greatswords, pistoliers, outriders, and demi-griff knights. Then we take a look at the rare category, 25% maximum of army points, 0 to 1 war machine per 1,000 points, so in terms of Hellblaster volley gun and Hellstorm rocket battery, and you can take 0 to 1 steam tank per 1,000 points. And then you can take any number of flagellants. 0 to 1 steam tank per 1,000 points. So 2,000 point armies, you could get 2 steam tanks, but they're pretty pricey. And I think you're going to be mitigated by the maximum 25% max of your army points. And then finally we have the mercenaries, 20% maximum of army points, allies, 25% max of army points, any dwarven mountain holds army of infamy as well, and then one of the following grand army composition lists. So you can take dwarven mountain holds or Kingdom of Bretonnia. You can also take wood elf realms as allies, but you do have them as suspicious. As I've said before, with the Dwarven Mountain Holds, mercenaries and allies I think are really interesting when doing narrative campaigns, playing with friends and casual battles and so on. However, I just from a sort of a generic army list that you're going to take to pick up games or competitive games, I just don't see mercenaries and allies being taken in 99% of cases. I'm sure there's probably, some edge cases out there or some a broken combo thing out there, but by and large, that's going to be very few and far between. So there you go. That brings us to the end of this first video. A bit of an introduction to the Empire of Man, some unique weapons in there, and then a quick look at the Grand Army composition. So next up, we're going to be taking a look just like the dwarfs. It's going to be exactly the same format. So if you like the dwarf and faction focus, we're doing the same thing with the Empire. So we're going to be going through the characters, the core, the special, and the rare, and then we're going to be taking a look at some of the magic items. We're going to be taking a look at some of the comparisons across the infantry, the missile infantry, war machines, and so on, and then rounding off with a couple of sample 2,500 point army list, 2,500 points being where I think, or where I feel personally, the game plays best. But bearing in mind those army lists are not meant to be competitive, they're meant to be fun and engaging all-comers lists that can leverage people's collections and have a variety of units rather than spamming a single thing. And then the final episode in this series will be some of the potentially missing units that you never know we might see in the future. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. But please let me know why in the comments down below. If there's something you don't like about this video and you do give it a thumbs down, that's absolutely fine. But please give me the feedback. I can't make it better or can't improve unless you tell me why. Thank you to all those who have already subscribed as well. And if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button down below. It takes a few seconds to do so. It's absolutely free, but it's such a big deal for me. So thank you for that in advance. You've been watching The Ghost Owl, and I'll see you all very, very soon.